So, welcome to the Podcast Cast. I'm Insuling.
I'm Jarrett.
And I'm Mark. And today we're going to be discussing Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. In this episode, we're mainly going to be talking about the stories we had in Skyrim. I can say for myself, I've played like thousands of hours of this game. What about you guys?
I have, unfortunately, dedicated enough time to Skyrim that were I dedicating it to education, I would be a doctor. I've played a lot. I've played a lot. If someone were to ask me to write down the amount of the number of hours I've played Skyrim for, I would write down a yes.
Yeah, that's a good box to check. I played less, but not by much. I was already a tax-paying adult when it came out. I bought it with the money that I made by working, and I played it in between having to go to work to earn more money for food and medicine. And I put a lot of time into this game, several hundred hours. Probably not quite 1,000 though.
Yeah. Skyrim is interesting. Functionally, if we're looking at it from the technical level, it's a very similar game to its older brother, Oblivion. But with a lot of key changes and modifications that some are good, some are bad, but there's a lot of stories in Skyrim. As an example, just to start off, an interesting bug we came upon in our game, and something I found out was that a lot of the Stormcloak, any of the groups that were wearing like guards helmets, whenever I would steal their helmet, their like face would be onyx black, like just hard black with like they still had like eyes and stuff, but just like the skin tone dial was turned all the way down to hard black. But if you would take off the rest of their stuff to like steal their shirts, they like were incredibly pale everywhere else, and there's just a line where their neck is where it shifts.
It was a common Nord preset for guards.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a bug that showed up a lot, but it was a bug that showed up every time I did that in my game. That was interesting. I also had a weird bug where, for some reason, the sky textures would get posted onto people's faces. So, like, as in these weird little kaleidoscopes that would show up. That was interesting to have everyone's face look like that for a few days.
That's kind of interesting. I'd like to see that one.
It really looked weird. It was like... very strange, especially when you're not expecting it.
Mm-hmm. Pro tip for anyone who's going to be playing Skyrim: get the unofficial patch for Skyrim.
Oh God, yes. Oh God, yes. If you can physically get the unofficial patch, dear Lord, please do it.
It's free. It's both on console and PC.
Yeah.
It fixes a lot of the things, especially with exploits you can do. Like, there was one where if you were in Right One, you would go near one of the barracks, and you could jump on a barrel over the wall, and then you can go under Whiterun. And if anyone knows anything about Skyrim, merchants basically have chests under where they're at, where they put stuff in, sell stuff. Like, so if you can get to that, you can basically both steal gold, armor, anything that they're selling. So, little old me decided, it'd be funny if I just spent the next hour stealing everything from everyone underground.
Yeah, like you do.
Yeah, like you do. What about you, Insuling?
Oh man. So I think my favorite bug in the game had to have been the time that I killed a dragon, and then I think I went into a dungeon, but then I came right back out of the dungeon, which means that the dragon didn't have enough time to turn to bones. Usually when you kill a dragon, it turns into bones, and you can't really move the bones around. It's just like a fixed corpse that eventually despawns. So I walked out of the cave and found the dragon's body was still there. And I was actually able to walk up and hold the use button and move the dragon around a little bit and like actually start dragging it around. And the ragdoll physics still worked, and so I equipped a hammer, like a big two-handed hammer, and started hitting the thing, and it just went flying. And so I started chasing after it, and eventually I fushoed it over a hill, and it ramped up over the hill and just kind of disappeared over the horizon. A lot like when a giant hits something and it just dunk goes off into the atmosphere. It was that, but with a dragon's corpse. I did get to see it come back down, but it despawned by the time I got to it, so I was a little sad. But I don't know. I was just sad that I couldn't invite friends online to play with me, because, oh man, we could have played soccer with a dragon corpse. What other game lets you do that?
Oh God, not only is that a really cool story, but that brings up a thing. My biggest wish list for any of the Elder Scrolls games is not a multiplayer mode, because we've seen Fallout 76. We don't want that. We just don't. But a co-op mode, like something that could let you play the game with friends, like running around adventuring with them and stuff. That would be cool. That would be really rad. Yeah, there's a Daggerfall has pretty much its entire source code out. So there's this one guy that basically created a fully functional multiplayer system on it that actually works and has servers and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, Daggerfall basically released all of the technical stuff to modify the game. So you can modify the game pretty much with the same fluency a game designer could if you know what you're doing. While things like Skyrim have the creation kit, which is an abridged variation built to let you make quick changes. So Skyrim engine it's basically impossible to make a working multiplayer. They can try. They've done it. There is a mod that attempts to do it, but it basically does it by putting a puppet NPC that's making the same motions you are. But it means that all of the monsters are desynced. So if a monster decides to go left in your game and right in one of your players, like another character's game, you'll both go in opposite directions and start swinging at the air, and it's just very clunky and doesn't work.
Yeah, it's too bad. This game really should have been multiplayer or co-op either from the get-go or just as a thing that they put in. That's we could put that in the next podcast. Though what they should have done. Oh boy.
Yeah.
This is eventually going to devolve into another things Bethesda needs to do but won't. So that's why I say, Skyrim is for the modders. That being said, I put my hundreds of hours into the vanilla game on the PlayStation 3, just playing it as it was, out of the package. It was alright. I mean, I had fun. I ran around as a dagger mage. I eventually learned magic, but for the longest time I was just using knife magic for everything. Which is, you hit that sneak button, you get behind something, and you kill it in one hit, because, oh my god, you do so much damage.
Oh, yeah.
I could one-shot dragons by hitting their tail. It was great.
There is a reason every single Skyrim character becomes either a stealth archer or a sneak stabber.
I can attest to that.
Is the natural progression of Skyrim characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you start as a battle mage, end as a stealth archer. Start as a big warrior, end as a stealth archer. Start as a stealth archer, end as a stealth archer. There's a lot of ways to start. Generally, very few end without becoming a stealth archer. Or a stealth, stabber person.
Oh man, once I run into that bear in the first cave, I'm just like, alright, I'm just gonna rubber band my controller, so I'm walking forward in a crouch into this corner. There we go. And now I'm gonna go out for lunch, and then I'll come back, and I'll have 100 sneak. Now I'm ready to play the game.
Oh god. Speaking of which, my first playthrough, this is a thing about me in games. I really love playing summoner characters, or necromancer characters, and I wanted to play conjurer. And as it turns out, conjuration, like all of the magics, like all of the offensive-based magic schools in Skyrim, is painfully weak when compared to just getting an enchanted sword and stabbing someone. So I decided I wanted to do something to tip the balance a bit. So what you can do, go to Riverwood, the first city you enter in the game, and you can buy the Solitaire the spell. It's like Solitaire, Soul Trap, something like that. It is a novice level conjuration spell that when you cast it on someone, basically if you kill them within, like, I think it was 30 seconds after you cast it, their soul is trapped in any soul gems you have. But you can kill a mud crab, which is right by Riverwood, and then just repeatedly cast the spell on it. Interesting thing, every time you try to do the spell on a dead creature, it fails, and whenever it fails, you get conjuration XP.
Oh, that's
so if you just keep casting the spell at the mud crab, you can, in an hour, you can level up to 100 conjuration if you keep at it.
I mean, specifically with using that ability, it's like you have to cast a spell and release.
Yeah, you can't just
cast release.
Yeah, that's one that unlike Sneak, which you can just do the rubber band method, very good method by the way. With this one, you have to actively tap for a straight hour to repeatedly cast the spell. You got to get like a rhythm, and then when you run out of mana, you just sleep.
Yeah, it's easy. I mean, one way you can get pretty much infinite arrows however you want is, number one, you have to be good at pickpocketing. Go to Solitude, go to the area where the archers are shooting their arrows, and you can pretty much amounts of steel arrows. But if you pickpocket the guards and put, say, orcish arrows in there and take away their arrows, they'll use those.
Yeah, so if you get like an ebony arrow, you can go to the guards that are practicing archery and make it so that they start shooting nothing but ebony arrows at the archery things that you can then take.
Oh my god, that's great.
One of the easiest. Yeah, it really is. It's amazing. Of course, I'm pretty sure everyone here knows about the plate. So in Skyrim, if you take any of the plates or cut any of the wide plates, pick it up using the interact key, and then push it onto a wall and then walk towards it, the game will lose its mind trying to figure out the physics of what you're doing, and you'll just clip straight through the wall. So like this doesn't work on doors that are loading zones, but doors that are just doors and are locked that like don't leave the zone, you can use that to just immediately bypass.
That's how you can easily get into the Thalmor embassy.
Yeah, you can just like walk up to the Thalmor embassy with a plate, put the plate in the wall, and just push your way through. Skip like 8 hours of the game in like 5 minutes.
Yeah. It is a really fun thing to do.
Yeah, you can do crazy stuff. Let's see, other crazy stuff.
There's just so many different crazy things that you can do in the game that you just learn.
Yeah. It's like when they first released the game, and this is something I remember, they didn't tell anyone that werewolves were going to be in the game. They told them that werewolves weren't going to be in the game.
Okay. When I first got Skyrim, it was like 2013, 2012, I also bought the guide to it.
Yeah, the big guide
and
book.
It had werewolves in it. I'm like, whoa. It's going to have werewolves in it. You barely can encounter any werewolves.
Yeah, our impression of Skyrim after reading the guide was that you did 3 things in the game. Collected houses, killed vampires, and interacted with werewolves. That was our impression. It was just like some weird Van Helsing simulator. That's what we thought, because we had never played an Elder Scrolls game at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say you're not too far off.
Oh, God. But yeah, Skyrim has a lot of really crazy stuff in it that just... You can feel the depth of content in Skyrim. You can go and join like 7 guilds. You can go and interact and collect these Daedric artifacts. You can go on the main quest or the secondary, or I think it's Territory actually. Yeah, like Civil War quest line that's happening. Though the quest line is one of the problems is Skyrim was rushed just a bit. So the Civil War questline wasn't finished and is like halfway completed.
Yeah.
Like it technically has an end, but it just kind of it's a thing. It's like they whipped it together. They didn't have the time to actually make it, fleshed out or to make it make sense, but it's there.
It's there.
What I
And
liked
that's
was
what I
that like the longer that I played, the more people started to really recognize my character. Like they were like, "Oh, hey, that guy's not just the archmage of the school. He's also the he's the Dovahkiin."
Yeah, and those like moments of just natural storytelling are awesome. And I think that Skyrim could have been 10 times better if they had only took in all of those like subsidiary mechanics, like your reputation system, and just made them more intricate and gave more interaction with them. Like once you start becoming the leaders of multiple guilds and you go to join a guild, the guild that you're trying to join should immediately recognize you. If you're the Thane of Whiterun, the head of the Mages Guild, you're also the known Dovahkiin and savior of the world, and you wander into the companions, they shouldn't they shouldn't just casually act like you aren't basically Superman walking in front of them.
Oh my god, I know.
You should.
Like, oh, we need to test you out. Like somebody should smack them upside the head and be like, "Do you know who you're talking to? This guy killed Alduin the World Eater with his bare hands by yelling at it and then punching it with his bare hands. What? Who do you think you are?"
It was this whole thing, and I think one of the issues that I found with the system, one of the things that I think Skyrim fails to fully grasp, is making you feel like you're becoming this world famous hero. I think that there's moments, single little rivulets of that happening, of certain characters referencing past events, and I think that especially with a game that works so hard to be this intricate, interwoven mess of, and I might say mess positively, of narratives and story arcs and characters and epic hero moments, it does a very poor job of having those moments affect anything other than the quest line that you're doing. Like, here's an example: the Brotherhood quest lines, where you're like the assassin. Every single dialogue option for that quest line has the option to remain silent and not say anything. But then your character goes back to being the Dovahkiin hero once he gets done with the quest line and drops his weird quiet character thing. Like it's a thing that's available just for that quest line that goes away after that quest line, and it never comes up again. Your character goes from being like hero Nordic superhero guy to being quiet crazy assassin person, and then back once the quest line is over. And I felt like perhaps the game, they did the best they could because they are working with voice acting, and that means there's a limited number of replies and stuff that they can voice out and reactions. But I don't know. I wonder if there's ways to make the game feel more interactive.
The
Like
problem
a
with Skyrim specifically is that the quests don't feel like they're connected in each other. Like the quest lines don't feel like they're all a part of this living, breathing world. It just feels something like 100%er would want.
Yeah, like it feels like I can look at the Companions quest line, and it almost feels like the Companions quest line was built completely separate from the rest of the game, and that it doesn't interact with anything else in the game. And I can say the same thing about almost every quest line except for maybe the main quest, because the main quest also, as part of it, takes you all around Skyrim and has you picking up a ton of side quests that characters reference, like, you know, the Civil War quest. Same thing with, I believe they also begin like hinting about the Aldermary Dominion in the main storyline, though it's just a side mission.
Like they talk about it like it's a big deal,
course.
but you don't see them.
Oh god, so mind. I say this as someone who has played this game enough for it to be a doctorate. The Civil War questline is not good. It is very not good. they wanted to go with the because they knew that players after playing Oblivion would be already kind of partial to the Empire, and they wanted to give you a reason to like the Stormcloaks. So they went with the idea that they're banning Talos worship and they're like doing a bunch of Empire stuff with a conquered nation. I get that, but then they realized, oh well, now the Stormcloaks are just the good guys because they're the ones that don't want to ban the religions. And their solution was like basically to just make the Stormcloaks stupid, like very stupid. Because their solution was just to make them like painfully anti-elvish and anti like thing that isn't a Nord, basically. And the problem with that is that they're fighting a losing battle against an empire and they're one province, and that they don't have the resources to turn down all of these people because they only want Nords. Like, when you're that desperate, you should logically be accepting everyone just out of sheer desperation at that stage. But they instead made them the kind of stupid kind of racist where you're willing to ruin your own war because you, I don't know, like don't like high elves and dark elves or something. It's very strange, and they just made every faction seem kind of stupid at the end. Like I didn't really feel like I wanted to join any of them. I kind of felt like they were both idiots, and that at best I was picking who I hated less.
I think it would have been cool if there was like a third quest line in that, where you could make it very clear, like, hey, I don't want to take part in either side. You're both wrong. And then you can get involved with some other party, and then you basically just get to watch them fight each other on the sideline while you go do sneaky things to, I don't know, secure somebody else's position. So that, well, like, maybe you could work directly with the Aldmeri Dominion to be like, yeah, I'll just make sure both of these sides take each other out so y'all can just move in and then be like, oh, look, the Empire can't support itself. I guess Skyrim is for the mayor.
Okay, so that actually brings up a very important topic. The game makes it very, very, very clear that the Aldmeri Dominion is playing both sides so it can crush the weaker winner. It seems very strange to me that both the Imperials and the Stormcloaks have what is very obviously a common enemy who is actively planning to take advantage of them, obviously, like to the point where it is painfully obvious. And not only does neither side recognize this as a thing, but you never have any opportunity to point this out, even when, like, you know, like during the main quest line, for example, when you're just the Dragonborn quest line, you call for basically a ceasefire to the war. And what happens is, so you're like, okay, let's get the leader of the Stormcloaks, leader of the Empire, let's sit them down, and like, guys, super death Satan is coming to eat the world. Let's stop fighting for just a moment now, children. But what ends up happening is that like members of the Aldmeri Dominion come basically to monitor the thing, and it's like it's very obvious what's happening here. They both have a common enemy who hates both of them, and they both kind of hate. I kind of wish that there was like a way to end everything peacefully, where you just point out like, yeah, you know, the magic yellow Nazi people who want to kill everyone who isn't a high elf. Maybe we should look at those guys, the guys that, you know, show up at every one of your meetings and seem to have more control over what policies you enact than you do. Maybe we should take a look at those people over there and not like, you know, like a bunch of Stormcloaks and then like an empire of some kind. It's very weird to me.
Well, the Aldmeri Dominion, they already defeated the Empire. Like, the reason why they're there is because the Empire is basically under the Aldmeri Dominion now, from the White Gold Concordat that they talk about, where like the elves are there because the treaty that they basically forced man to sign says, hey, if you do these things, you need our representatives to also be there so we can keep an eye on you. Yes, we are here to keep an eye on you. Yes, we are undermining you. That's because you lost the war. Ve victis.
Yeah, see, it seems like those people sound like they would make a pretty fun villain to go fight. Not the, like, I don't know. It seems like the whole quest line is like, okay, well,
Well, if you're
I like because it very clearly presents the Aldemary Dominion as an antagonist faction, but it's like every choice I have is just helping them. Like, what? I don't want to help. I don't. This is like it doesn't feel like there's a heroic option, which is very strange because it clearly wants there to be a heroic option. Like it keeps wanting that to exist, but either you side with the crazy, uh, weird like Nordic supremacist people, or you side with the weird empire that's just following the orders of the magic yellow elf Nazis. And it's like, I I don't think either of these people need to be in power. What? I'm the Dragonborn. Can I start my own party? There has to be a third option in this race, you know?
Well, I think it's great if you decide to play a high elf in the beginning, like the very beginning. They're like, oh, well, it sucks that, like, oh, high elf, that sucks for you, but, since you happen to be on this cart, we have to kill you too, because we're the Empire, and that's just how we work. I wish that you, as a high elf, could go to what is it, the embassy or whatever it is, and be like, yeah, the Imperials try to put me to death. Can you believe that? And then just full on side with them.
Oh yeah, definitely the ability to go like full like Sith Lord, like that definitely should have been an option too, because Skyrim's a game about like role playing, so playing the guy that's just like, no, like I'm siding with the high elves. Have fun, gang.
I'm siding with the people that won.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm joining. I'm not joining the winning side. I'm on the winning side. Look at me. Why do you?
Yeah.
Why on earth do you think that this would ever be for the Nords? What makes you think that you deserve to be here on our
Yeah, yeah.
land?
Just go full on. I would have so much rather allow like instead of having two factions, have there be like four. Okay, you have the Empire and the Stormcloaks, and then the Aldemary Dominion, which is more of a background faction that you can still join and interact for the war quest line, and then like a fourth faction, which I don't know. I'm probably being a bit crazy here, but I'm starting to think that perhaps you could present it as a lot of people kind of getting tired of this like weird madness that's going on around them, as these two sides, which both clearly kind of suck, are fighting for who gets to control everyone. And it kind of seems like the hero god king person, who, by the way, because he's a dragonborn, has a bit of a connection to both their whole religion and also the empire, because the king and stuff is a dragonborn. So you sort of have political power on both sides of the aisle in this case because of your being a god king person. So what if you use that just to take the blades and get everyone to start joining them because god, the other two options are horrible, and then you just conquer the country and become the king? Like, that would be a pretty rad way to end it. Okay, so you have to because the base quest line, you either have to let the Ulfric Stormcloak become the king, or just let the Imperial High Commander not become king, but just be the one in charge.
Yeah, I hated that.
It's
Why?
I want to be king.
What if I go shout Ulfric Stormcloak apart, and then I come back and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be. Guess what? I'm the new High King of Skyrim now, according to the Nords.
Yeah.
I have them behind me. Also, I'm on your guys' side. So I don't know. Do I need to marry the Queen of Skyrim? Can I? No, that's not an option. All right, that's fine. I accidentally married somebody anyways, and I'd feel really bad if I had to go kill them to get a divorce or something. I don't know how the divorce mechanics work in this game.
Oh God!
I just got a cool necklace from a priest in Riften and was like, cool. And then someone was like, oh, hey, that's a nice necklace. And then I just hit the yes option, and they're like, oh, good. I was like, wait, what? Oh, I have a quest. All right. Oh wait, I'm married. Oh no.
I mean,
The people of Skyrim have such weird customs.
I think it was a very traditional
wear a
marriage.
necklace. Be the first person you talk to.
Yeah, like if you want to
just
get married, then put this necklace on, and people will know. I mean, to be fair, I wish that we had that. Like if you go to a bar and you're like, I want to meet somebody at this bar, and I hope that somebody approaches me. So you put the thing on, and people know, like, oh hey, they're okay with being approached and talked to. But then you get the worst people to approach you. It backfires.
it would be super rad if you could just take the blades, the faction that's supposed to be loyal to you, completely drop them having this weird obsession, like fetish with killing dragons, like, oh, our honor demands that you kill Parthenax or we won't be loyal to you. You're the God King person who killed God, the God that was supposed to end the world, by yelling at him. You can yell at some pansy follower of yours that's trying to, like, get high on their horse. You can just tell them no, because you're the Dragonborn. No, who's going to stop you?
You know how marriage works in Skyrim? You force a necklace onto somebody, and then they ultimately...
No, you wear the necklace. And then the first person you talk to just goes, yeah, I'll marry you. And that's it, you're married. That's how it works. Such a beautiful culture.
Stormcloaks were right.
Well, you also basically have to go to their version of
insane.
You have to go to their version of Vegas, but worse, in order to get married. Everybody does.
On all the debate forums, especially on the Elder Scrolls Reddit, there's things of who's technically right in the Imperials or Stormcloaks, and people are like, "Oh, do the Imperials since they're going to overtake the Aldmeri Dominion."
It's like, no, they're not. They are a baby faction that literally has been completely conquered and browbeaten to the point where every time they have a diplomatic conversation, they have several Aldmeri Dominion members sitting there with a clipboard looking down on them for the entire time. That is not a nation that's going to be able to overthrow that. It's going to take some outsider, like the Dragonborn, to fix that mess.
I mean, when my first playthrough, and it's just like, I liked the color blue, so I just picked the Stormcloaks, and it was like, well, they're rebels, so let's just pick them.
Yeah, I like the color blue, therefore they win.
Yeah, therefore they win.
I mean, that's generally what you do. I mean, it's either red or blue.
Back.
Yeah, but yeah, I have it. I guess it's just, to me, I've played enough games that give the player agency, and I mean, like, RPGs, like tabletop, that it annoys me when I see a story where, like, if you had a good DM and good players, you could do so much more.
It bothers me because we live in a post-DLC world where these things could be added to the game well in hindsight. Either, get the voice actors back to re-record some things, and then that way when you go to start a new game, suddenly there's all these new options. Like, hey, that wasn't a choice before. I could do that, and because it's... Hey, welcome back. And because it's just there now, you could even, like, reload an old save and be like, hey, I could do these other things. Cool. Like, that's the thing that the company could do, but, they leave it to modders because if you've ever been on YouTube, you probably know this. Bethesda's a little bit lazy when it comes to finishing their games. They make beautiful games, but man, they just don't seem to have that follow through to, finish them.
And I think that's for the sole reason why is because people will still buy their products even if it's a glitchy mess.
Yeah, like, let's be honest, most, like, I can enjoy vanilla Skyrim. Most people who are playing Skyrim, including myself, use Skyrim as basically a source engine for a bunch of cool mods. Like, I can't imagine going back to Skyrim without mods. I couldn't do it.
I mean, especially with vanilla, right?
Oh, God.
With vanilla, it was funny to see most of the mods. It was funny seeing a mammoth fly in midair.
Yeah, like
You know?
it's really interesting. If you
It's funny seeing getting hit by a giant and going vertical y-axis, 50 feet in the air.
That's the best.
yeah,
I wish that there was a way to survive getting hit like that, but unfortunately, that's like It's because you die and then become susceptible to ragdoll physics, and you know.
Yeah.
yeah. So there's no real way to survive it, unless maybe you got like a mod that let you revive a few seconds after you die,
Or
and
a
then
mod
maybe
that
you
makes
had-
or a mod that makes you always susceptible to ragdoll physics.
Oh God,
Oh,
that would be something. That would be something. But yes, something the when it comes to Fallout, something I think that's important to think about is the simple fact that the game was with a very. I'll be honest. Okay, I'm just going to come out and say it. Fallout is not an art. Fallout. God, why am I saying Fallout? I have been cursed. The world.
Fallout.
Yeah, Skyrim. The thing you have to all understand.
Skyrim.
Yeah.
I mean, Fallout for a
The
minute.
thing all of you have to understand about Skyrim is that Skyrim is not really an RPG. It's not built to be one. So it's not constructed with that intent. It's more of a Legend of Zelda style action game. It's an adventure action game with some light RPG elements mixed in. Now, if you look at it from that perspective, it's a good game. It's a great game. If you're looking at it from that view, and I definitely have, I've gotten my money's worth out of Skyrim. I'd recommend it to any listeners. But if you start trying to look at it as an RPG, it kind of falls flat. There's not enough actual. There's not enough of like what's called RPG mechanics, which is like character creation and customization. It's not high enough to be considered one anymore. And more importantly, even if it had those things, it's not constructed to be a game where you role play. It's constructed to be a game where you have fun in a sandbox.
Mm-hmm.
Which, that's fun. That's great. But I do think that it's these things, you have to view the game almost based upon what genre you're judging it by, if that makes sense.
I played one game, and it's my current playthrough, but it's basically, I added a mod that basically allowed you to skip the start. You can go to any place, really, and start off there with some starter gear and loot. And it's like, cool, fun, I'm going to go to Whiterun. Go to Whiterun, you go to the Jarl. Oh, there was a Helgen attack, and there was so many different dialogue options of, like, how the Helgen attack, I'm like, but that's so unimmersive. I wasn't there.
Oh god, yeah. But that was more the mod assuming you didn't
I want 100% immersion.
Yeah, the thing is the game designers to be fair, the game designers can't necessarily plan for every mod people make and make it so that the dialogue changes based upon what mods are installed.
Especially since they started it off in Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, no console mods were there.
Yeah, so that's a thing. Crazy thing, okay? As it turns out, a melee build, a unarmed build is entirely viable in Skyrim if you don't level up. So here's what you do: you play as a Khajiit, because Khajiit get a bonus to their unarmed attacks. Then you go and do the Thieves Guild quest just long enough to pick up the Fists of the Pugilist,
yeah,
which is an enchantment, gauntlets that basically increase your unarmed damage. So once you do that, you equip that, and then you never level up. Just don't do anything that'll get you to level up, because at that point, that is the strongest your attacks are ever going to be.
I mean, you can even make it more powerful if you have higher enchanting.
Yeah, you could, but even with 100 enchanting, you don't have enough to improve the gloves of the pugilist. So the only way you could do it is by abusing the potion system, the alchemy system, to make like alchemy potions of enchanting, and then use the enchanting to make like boots of alchemy, and just do that over and over again until you break the system and have like plus 9,000 unarmed damage. But this is one of the weird things. Unarmed damage, for viewers who've never played the game, doesn't actually scale based off of your one or two-handed skill. It doesn't actually scale at all with anything. It's just a completely static number. But unfortunately, Skyrim has like 12 incredibly detailed and beautiful unarmed attack kill animations that most players never use because unarmed damage sucks.
I mean, I killed Alduin with my bare hands, and it took so long. I was healing with one hand, shouting with my face, and punching with the other hand.
That works. But
That is the best tactic. Get as many health potions as physically possible.
Well, because Khajiit,
Go to town.
Khajiit get a small unarmed attack bonus, because of their claws.
yeah, they do. That's why if you pair it with Gloves of the Pugilist, which doesn't impede that attack bonus, that's the highest unarmed attack you can get in the game. Now, interestingly enough, and this was something I did not know, do you know that the unarmed attacks there actually modify the attack of the werewolf state?
Interesting.
Yeah, same thing with Gloves of the Pugilist, though you have to be equipping them when you turn, or else it won't have any effect at all.
Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah, so if you wearing that, you turn into a werewolf, your werewolf will have higher attack.
Awesome.
Now I'm just imagining like a werewolf just like getting into a boxer pose and like punching someone in the mouth with a fist instead of like clawing them. Just a werewolf that uses entirely punches and kicks, like kickboxing.
A werewolf that uses
Okay.
submission wrestling.
Oh my god. That would be so weird. Oh god.
Like a guy comes running at you with a sword, and you just grab their wrist to get wrist control, and just bend their arm back, and then around their back. Now you're behind them. There you go.
That. Oh god, that's amazing. Oh man. So another fun story. I am very particular about what my character wears. So something I ended up doing is I normally play a mage because mages already can handle not being in the front lines, not taking a lot of damage. And something my character would always do is if you do the Dark Brotherhood quest line partially, you get a bunch of people with bags over their heads that you basically have to kill one of them. But if you kill them, you can actually take the bag and wear it and look like a horror slasher villain. And so I would wear that plus just like the most normal clothing I could to get the Jason Voorhees look going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I would then get a wooden toy sword which does no damage. I would then enchant it with paralysis. I would use the alchemy system to just stupidly high paralysis numbers so that every time I would poke someone with it, they would basically be paralyzed until I left or waited several hours. So I would just go through dungeons doing that and figuring out how far I could get without killing anyone by hitting them with a magic paralysis stick.
I love this.
Desperate calls call for desperate.
Yeah, so I was basically Jason Voorhees in another life trying to make up for all that bad karma,
definitely.
you know?
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah,
Okay.
good vibes.
Okay, see, I was imagining you stealing the hoods off of these people's heads, and then killing them in the Dark Brotherhood quest to just be like, yeah, I want to see their faces.
No, I didn't kill them. I just took their hoods, and then I killed Astrid and left.
You have to kill Astrid, take her blade.
Yeah.
'Cause that's a cool. Was it like a
Yeah, it's a cool knife.
cool knife?
Yeah, and that's all my character interacted with. And he just spent the rest of the game being this like traveling guy who dresses like Jason Voorhees and hits people with a toy sword and paralyzes them and then leaves.
I basically had this Imperial Villa, which was like cool Imperial home, right? And there was Imperial bodyguards there that patrolled the area. So cool, so awesome. Well, let's just say I had a little bit of a bounty. You know, a lot of bounty. Like I think it was like 1,000 gold worth. But yeah, I fast traveled to the area, and they immediately turned hostile on me. I'm like, okay, crap, let's get out of here. Before I can do that, an ice dragon swooped down, started shouting on all of us, which prompted my character to exit out of the conversation, meaning all of the officers, which was like 20 of them, started attacking me and all my dudes, and then also a ice dragon was attacking all of us.
Oh god, that sounds like complete chaos.
I had a mod called Infinite Shouts, so I just kept on foods were dying everything in sight.
Yeah, just that's the panic button. Just start tapping
Just
that
start
sucker.
tapping it, yeah. I came out victorious though. All my
I
followers died, but
I hate it when
they're expendable.
a dragon battle ends and then a guard rushes up to you and is like, "You caught somebody with one of your AoE spells." Well, get out of the way. I'm fighting a dragon.
That is actually kind of one of the weird things that Skyrim's AI does. Skyrim's AI is very player focused. What do I mean by that? It means it only tracks the rules you break. It only tracks the actions you take. So if you kill if you kill a chicken, that city's gonna want you dead. If your allies kill a chicken, the city wants you dead. If an NPC kills a chicken, doesn't matter. If you punch someone in the face, you're getting the guards. If someone else punches you in the face, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. This applies to dragon fights. If you're fighting a dragon and you, God help you, touch a single hair of anyone's head accidentally, every guard will de-aggro the dragon. Because remember, the player always takes top priority in these fights. And will immediately begin attacking you instead of the dragon. Like all of them at once. They'll just you could watch them. You'll hit someone and they'll just all turn towards you like the horde and just charge. It is absolutely hilarious. Yeah.
There's a specific mod that basically lets you target people. So all destruction spells, you can target it at someone or a creature, and it won't hit anyone else. Because guess what? You're a Dragonborn. You're a cool dude or gal, and honestly, being able to fight a dragon, but then having the guard try to kill you because you accidentally touched him wrong, with your fireball spells.
So yeah, Skyrim has its quirks. Interesting enough, and you can see this if you go back and read articles about Skyrim from around the time it was released. People forget this now after Fallout 4 and Fallout 76, but fairly recently, Bethesda used to have a ton of goodwill, like a truckload of goodwill from fans and critics. All of their bugs, people saw as incredibly quirky and funny and didn't really hate. They just knocked it off as oh, Bethesda. And that kind of travels along through all of the games. In Fallout 4, I'd say people tended to start getting a bit more annoyed by them. And Fallout 76 was kind of the floodgate for people not liking Bethesda.
Well, because you can't mod Fallout 76 because it's an MMO. And so they took the same routes that they had been, where they're like, well, we'll release this game, on time instead of doing what we should do and just give it a few more months. Let's give our designers a bit of a break. Let them see their families a little bit. We're going to release this game unfinished, and we're going to tell everybody that it's their fault that it's unfinished. Why can't you just enjoy this product that isn't doing what we said that it would do? I mean, there's also the bag incident and a bunch of other nonsense that happened, but man, just I'm kind of on the outside of this, where I haven't played a lot of Bethesda games. It's mostly just a little bit of New Vegas and Skyrim, and so I don't really see these things as quirks. I just yeah.
You see them as bad game design flaws.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, what? And again, we're in a world with DLC, and unpaid people are modding the game to fix it. That should not be their job. That should be Bethesda doing it. We're paying you money for this. If you need more money for the effort, then charge more money. Charge $80 for your game. People will buy it. Well, they would have, but then you release Fallout 76, an unfinished game. And then you started punishing fans for nonsense. Yeah, people aren't gonna keep laughing at it forever. So I think that we're kind of past that point where people would have been willing to be like, yeah, well, we'll wait an extra few months. We'll even pay like $80 for the game instead of the 60, so you can make a profit easier. You messed up, Bethesda.
My thing is, and this is what I think is kind of key here. I I think that the production quality of Fallout game of all of Bethesda's like main studio games has gone up over the years. But I think that at a fundamental level, their vision has gotten smaller. Like if we go back to the first game of the series, Arena. Arena's ambition, now it didn't execute it well. Arena is a horribly flawed game. Do not get me wrong, but its ambition was just sky high. It was trying to create an entire fantasy world with multiple countries you could go to, and each one being like ridiculously sized. Now, it was not. The technology was not there. Probably isn't there now. But the like what they were attempting, the vision of the game was massive. Daggerfall. Daggerfall is still an insanely large game. It's like the size of Great Britain, I think. Crazy big, but it's a smaller scope, a more focused scope than Arena. Then Morrowind. Morrowind is minuscule compared to Daggerfall, but still big, still a big game. Just nothing like Daggerfall, and the scope was much smaller. They were no longer trying to simulate a world. Now they were just making an action RPG. Then Oblivion came and further lowered the scope. Now we're not even doing a weird setting. Now we're just doing like because actual. This is just a side note. Actual Oblivion, like the Imperial Province, was supposed to be this weird mix of Roman, Chinese, Japanese, and jungle-esque cultures mixing together with all of these different city-states fighting each other. What we got instead was medieval Europe. And then Skyrim came, and Skyrim had even less of a vision. It was just Oblivion with dragons set in Iceland, which is fun. I love Skyrim, but I feel like there's less dreaming happening in Skyrim than in previous entries. And this goes down, like even Fallout 4, the next series, the next game that was released. And yeah, it's not Skyrim, but let's not kid ourselves. Fallout is literally Skyrim with guns. They might as well be Elder Scrolls game, just set in like a different setting. But they use the same mechanics and the same basic tools. They're the same games, they're just different settings. And so Fallout 4 had a just microscopic scope. It didn't try anything new. And then Fallout 76, let's be honest here. Fallout 76 is just a survival game. It's just a weird clone of Ark or like 7 Days to Die, except for at least Ark and 7 Days to Die try to do something new and interesting and weird with their mechanics.
Yeah.
So that's what I think. That's part of my criticism of like the Elder Scrolls and like Fallout too. Is I feel like each game has less of like dreaming and more of compression and focusing down to having just a tiny scope and of what they want to accomplish. And ironically, it seems like they're putting like even though the scope is becoming smaller with each new entry, it kind of feels like they're also putting less production into it. Because Daggerfall, for example, is way less buggy than Skyrim is. And well, okay, it's less buggy in the ways Skyrim is, and I don't know. It's just I think it's a very weird thing to see how these games have progressed, as you can physically see the design, the way that they're designing the games change with each new game. And I'm very curious to see what Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be like, if we ever get it, because I wonder if they're going to try and go back to do what we were doing before with some of the older series, or if they're going to push it in a completely new direction, or if we're just going to get Fallout 4, but without guns.
I mean, Fallout 76, they're adding new updates to add single player.
Oh, God.
And they already added a human NPC in their newest DLC, I believe. So.
And Battle Royale. They're adding Battle Royale.
Oh, boy. Yeah, that's what people want to do. They want to play Fallout 76 for Battle Royale. Guys, there are already games that do that better than yours. Don't do that. I mean, I get it. Like we're three guys who have similar opinions who all decided to do a podcast together, like everybody else. So we're not really, we don't have a really good soapbox to stand on with that. But we're also not putting millions of dollars into producing a product that is just kind of stealing what other people are already doing better. Guys,
like,
come on.
They didn't even try to do something unique with it, you know? Like, they didn't try and, like, take the survival game or take the Battle Royale and really take it in a Bethesda direction. Do something crazy and weird and new. I mean, it worked for 7 Days to Die. It worked for Ark. People still play Ark. And let's be honest, Ark is basically Rust, but with dinosaurs. And there's a reason that was, at the very least, just enough innovation to make people curious about it. Because let's be honest, playing dinosaurs sounds pretty fun. Same thing with, like, 7 Days to Die. Let's take DayZ and make it cooperative instead of competitive, and then mix it with Minecraft. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
That's a whole other topic for a
Oh,
different
yeah.
day.
Hey, so do you guys want to armchair quarterback really quick?
Yes.
All right. Here's my idea for what they should have done with Fallout 76. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Take the setting. Like you get this. The whole world was nuked. We assume. Like we I don't think we ever really find out what's going on in Europe. Doesn't matter. We're in America. America was nuked. It really sucks. Let's go 50, maybe even 100 years into the future. Fallout 76 is an MMO. Add some base building mechanics, but like it takes effort to get the materials. Like you really have to you got to put some elbow grease into building a city. And building buildings takes some time. But like not microtransaction time, but just the more, maybe the more players and the more characters or whatever that are in an area or in a zone, the faster the building can be. So if you attract more people to your zone, buildings will build faster. Kind of like what they do in Second Life, where if you sit on benches or dance on dance pads, you get some money, and then the person who's running that server gets some money. So you basically do that, and you have people gradually building these cities that can be destroyed by, or either destroyed or damaged by, natural disasters that come through. Oh no, it was a sandstorm, or a hurricane, or a stampede of death claws. Just all kinds of nonsense. It just kind of travels through the area, and those troubles can, like people in your zone can get warnings. Like, hey, there's a thing coming. We should prepare for it. And you can. So it becomes a little bit of like an arena thing, too, where you're preparing for the worst. You're preparing for problems. And the whole point of the game, like the whole theme behind the game, is you're rebuilding. Because I'm so tired of the wasteland nonsense. Like, just get over it. The world isn't going to be a wasteland forever. Bottle caps are not a great currency forever. Eventually, someone's going to say, "Hey, we have coining again, guys. we could just make coins again." Hey guys, it turns out the power grid is very difficult to actually shut down forever. We just turned it on. The entire East Coast has power again. We did it. Let's move on. Move the plot forward. That's my idea. Move the plot forward. Get reconstruction to happen.
I think it's interesting because the original Fallout games took place very early on in everything exploding and everyone dying. And it meant that it made sense that basically people had reverted to tribalistic societies before they could reorganize, and a lot of Fallout 1 and 2 were about societies reforming and reshaping. But I think that a lot of the Bethesda Fallouts struggle with the idea of it ever not being an irradiated wasteland of, like, post-nuclear survivor people. And it means that, like, I don't think that they're comfortable with the idea of plants existing. because it's not like nature is painfully good at reclaiming areas once humans leave, and it's not like that these irradiated areas would almost immediately be reclaimed by nature, like within 100 years would just be massive forests everywhere. To elaborate on the idea you had suggested, perhaps make, and I know that player versus player is always going to happen, and leave space for that with guilds and factions that hate each other's guts, and you're building your civilization, the enemy is building theirs, and you guys can either cooperate or hate each other. But here's the thing: go Game of Thrones on this. Make it, because when we're playing Fallout, we always hear like, oh, death claws, they're very scary. It's hard to live out here. But honestly, unless you're trying, you're totally safe when you're in one of the cities. 100% safe. And you can buy food and water fairly easily. It's not hard to survive. It's not. Change that. Make it so that the environment of Fallout 76 is a hell to survive in, because the only thing that's harder to survive in than an irradiated wasteland is a giant forest full of monsters. Like, make it so that this place is dangerous, and even factions that hate each other sometimes are going to need to work together to not just get overrun by, all of the radiation in Fallout just turns things into monsters. If every animal is a monster, and then you add in the fact that nature's reclaiming the world, humans just got knocked off of their top of the food chain thing. We now have things to fear again. That it should be scary. There should be threats that take the entire server to fight off, because that's fun. Like, feel like you're like just surviving is an accomplishment, and it means that, unlike say in DayZ, where surviving is incredibly easy, so it means that the actual game is players killing each other in like a PvP sense. Make it so that in this, just surviving the NPCs is hard, and give players a legitimate reason to work together. That would be fun.
Mm-hmm. Having it based off of, let's see, bringing this up again, but 7 Days to Die, it's probably, in my opinion, one of the best multiplayer games out there, because it just doesn't pit players against each other. Maybe having, like what you said, having this new Fallout game or Fallout 76 be about community building, be about like, okay, who's gonna go collect the food today?
Yeah.
Like nature is the thing we're worrying about rather than other people. Now, while yes, there can be other factions, guilds, at the most part, you are against nature at this point. Death claws, all those other types of monsters. Ghouls, yes. Maybe having one where it's literally ghouls, just ghouls, roaming this.
Or another thing, perhaps like throw in the old school Brotherhood of Steel, like the horrifying version of the Brotherhood of Steel. That's these powered armor living gods that are wandering around that'll butcher you for your laser gun. What if you make them a force and present them as being just as overwhelmingly, because the faction that just has general soldiers walking around in what's described as basically little tanks, they should be terrifying. Like, Brotherhood of Steel should be this incredibly intimidating force, and perhaps have them be one of the NPC factions that tends to be more hostile, because, the hippie Fallout 3 Brotherhood of Steel is not representative of the main branch.
Maybe having online players being together facing against NPC factions.
Yeah.
Like raiders, gunners, those types of groups.
Oh yeah, and the players could even start to make up their own factions as they get together. Like, I wouldn't even take PvP out of it exactly, but I would definitely it's about rewarding the behavior that you want to see. And so you could kill somebody and take their gear, but if you do that, then like now their group knows about you. Like, now it's like, okay, you're a player killer. We know now. And
it's adding incentives not to kill other people.
Yeah, I guess I tend.
Well, and then the second half of that is that you reward people for working together. Like I said, like with bonuses, like the more people you have in an area that are working on things, the more bonuses everybody gets for working on things, because everybody earns a little bit.
and maybe having like a player rank, so like if somebody's just killing everybody, it has like a red thing on their tag.
Another
Almost,
idea,
almost
and
like
this
a
is
well, wait, almost like a karma rating.
Yes.
Yeah,
Like
like that thing that already exists in most Fallouts. Like, yeah, you could look at a guy and you're like, oh, ooh, they have a real bad karma. I don't know about this guy. And you could
I
you could even set up your like guards and stuff. Like you maybe hire NPC guards or something, and set it up to be like, hey, I want you guys to automatically attack people who have a certain amount of karma, or like a certain amount of negative karma, so that they'll just go after player killer or habitual player killers. Almost as it's kind of like in Baldur's Gate, the original, where people would be like, "Oh man, if I play evil, then everybody attacks me." Yeah, because you're evil, because you're breaking the law. That's what happens.
I I do think it's very. I tend to, in my design, like when I tend to hypothetically design things, I tend to go for the honey over the stick. Uh, what I would do is I would heavily make it. I would make it so that living players are much more useful to you than the stuff that you could get by killing them. First of all, secondly, and this is just an idea here. These games have all of these. Most of these games have enemy NPC factions. What if you gave players with very low karma scores the option of spawning in as one of those? Like again with the ghouls thing. What if you could spawn in as like a raider, and you'd have the raider like clothes, and your character would be tagged by everyone as a raider, and then you could go and get with other players who were themselves also raiders. Stuff like basically to bolster the intelligence of some of the NPCs, like basically kind of guiding a little herd that you're controlling.
Captains.
I like
Yeah,
that.
like
Yeah.
you're a hero unit, and so when the game decides, raiders are going to attack this city now and try and overthrow it, a few players would get spawned in as big raiders with like flags, and they could give commands to the horde to shift them one way or another.
Yeah, I think people would love that. Like, what was the game? Left 4 Dead basically does that with their co-op, or with their versus multiplayer, where half the players play as zombies, or like as the special zombies. So like you could have players who want to do PvP, just like I want to be on the attacking side, and you just set it like that on your I don't know, in your options or something, and then the game would say, hey, we're going to be doing a raid in this area. Do you want to join? And if you say yes, then it just despawns your character. You spawn in that area as probably like a weaker raider, like a normal character, but it lets you run around and kind of inspect things, and even try to like sneak into the settlement to scout it out. And then when the raid begins, you spawn as a stronger raider, a properly leveled one, and then do all the stuff that you just said.
Yeah, and you could even like the thing is with this though, it appeases both sides, because there's the players that want to go, okay, I want to like have my group, I want to be PvE, and I want to work with players and be cool. And then there's the guy, I really like first-person shooters, and I want to snipe people from across the map. And this appeases both, because if you're playing as Raider, there's already an assault on the city, or your group. And I imagine you would also set it so that like you could have player-formed Raider factions that the game would then add in and start circulating around and stuff. So you could like it's not prefab Raider groups that you're joining. Your character actually joins a Raider guild to do it. And so you set that up, and perhaps it has like some artificial pushing so that if there's too many Raiders in a like map, it'll maybe offload some players to other servers, like just shift them over a bit, or maybe make it so that like if it's too imbalanced, you just can't select Raider until there gets more normal players, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this. 7 Days could use something like this too, because one of the problems that I have with 7 Days is once you get your base set up to the point where you can just kind of casually survive the horde, then you've basically solved the game. And then at that point, you're just playing Minecraft. So it's a question of like, how could you spice that up? And I think that something like this would be kind of cool, where it's like sometimes it's the zombie horde that comes in the Blood Moon. Sometimes it's something else that happens, and you have to deal with it somehow, with your equipment or your tech or, I don't know, teamwork, power of friendship. stuff.
Yeah, and make it so that perhaps like once or like because the Bethesda can afford to have regular updates. They're a giant they have all the money in the world, and they're doing an multiplayer game with microtransactions. If they can keep the game popular, they can do what GTA did and just soak money in. Like they're just like just absorb the surrounding money from the area. But the thing is, what you could do is then release like updates that added new stuff. Yes, you think you're really you're a cool guy up in your magic tower that no zombies can touch, and then suddenly like the game introduced ghosts, and it's like they can pass through walls if the walls aren't like made of a very specific material, and they can fly, and it's like have fun with that. Kill that now.
Oh yeah, we're at 40 minutes now on the second one. So we definitely have an hour of material here.
This is going to be the Skyrim series. Is going to be the video game
Bethesda.
series.
This is the Bethesda thing. We talk about what we want Bethesda to do. Not even shaming Bethesda. Just being like, guys, do this. Hire us. We will help you. Guys, we have ideas. We're on the internet and we have ideas.
So, we've kind of ranted about Skyrim, the Elder Scrolls series, 7 Days to Die, the Fallout series, but Bethesda in general, and our elaborate thoughts on what we don't like, and what we think they should change. And I think that we might come back to this, because there is a lot to unpack. But I think that for this episode, at least, we have ranted enough. This has been the Podcast Cast. I'm Jarrett.
I'm Mark.
And I'm Insuling.
Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.